Well, here we are, the final episode in this series. If I've scheduled this right, it's probably coming out a week early on the 31st of December. Last week's was on Christmas Eve. So Happy New Year if you're listening at this moment in time. Otherwise, Happy 2021. I'm stopping this because I need my life back. I need my evenings back. I've been at this now 20 months. I spend Sunday nights, Monday nights, Tuesday nights, sometimes Wednesday nights, editing these week after week, month after month. And I need this time now to spend on other projects. That's not to say there won't be any more adventures in Middle-Earth. We're still playing that actively every couple of weeks on a Sunday. So I might release the odd one-off, but mainly this channel now, the podcast, will be around Rolemaster, my favourite role-playing system, and especially when Rolemaster Unified comes out. Anyway, thank you very much for sticking with this. Had a number of regular watchers, and nice to be able to see the viewing figures have gone up and up and up as time's gone by. So let's do this one last time. This is an Adventures in Middle-Earth actual play using Fantasy Grounds. You can find session summaries, items and characters on World Anvil, where our campaign is called In the Shadow of the Mountains. You'll find links to that and other forms of media for our sessions, as well as an index of this episode in the description. This episode has jump cuts to keep the run time down. Previously, the Fellowship intend to make the Festival of the Five Armies in Dale, but to do so requires riding through tough terrain and lawless hills first, before the more pastoral lands closer to the city. We join them as they leave Rowanhold.
A little despondent. You wish everyone well. You discuss what you found in as much detail for Galvara, and then you decide to push on. After about midway through the next day, you get to north of the Forest Gate, which is the start of the Elf Path, and you kind of revisit that for old time's sake, and been there for about a year. And looking through the Forest Gate along the Elf Path, it definitely looks more grown and overgrown than it was when you risked travelling it, and you probably think you're wise with horses not to go that route now. So you push on, and that isolated tree just above it is actually a small wood. So it's not really part of Mirkwood. It's isolated, and the trees here, unlike the dark tangled trees of Mirkwood, aren't like that. And a little light makes it through the canopy as you're travelling through it. And you recall, Arahad, that this place was called the Elfwood. So this would have been part of the great woodland realm of centuries ago. A little bit of light maybe remains in this part of the wood versus the rest of Mirkwood to the east. You're discovering loads of fascinating snippets.
Think about travel.
There you go. Share that record as well, so you can have a gander at that if you want to. Okay, so that was the Elfwood. Now you are basically the Elfwood is the start of your toughest part of the journey. Yeah, so the East Upper Vales.
So, John, I've got natural watchfulness, which says when travelling, exploring, or resting, you've learned to constantly pay attention to the sights and sounds of the world about you. Even when in the wilderness, your proficiency bonus perception is doubled if you're proficient in perception. So can I be sort of extra watchful as we enter this rather more dangerous area?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think your perception bonus at 5th level is +3, so you get an additional +3 on perception checks only in the wilderness though.
Yeah.
So as you're going into the East Upper Vales, the scenery changes. So the east side of the White Anduin, which is what the Upper Anduin is called, and white because it's much more rapids on this part of the river, is a grim wold of scrub trees and rocky soil. It makes for poor farmland. In days of old, this was the eastern frontier of Eethiod, and it was called the Eastmark. Back then, it was thickly forested, but the horse people were hungry for timber to build their longhouses and their axes bit deep into Mirkwood, as the ancestors had done in the Bight far to the south. To the north, the forest falls away, and the Vales of Anduin open up into the narrows of the shadows of the Grey Mountains. No one lives here, not even along the eaves of the forest, as everyone fears its darkness. Northern Mirkwood is a tangled forest full of perils and monsters, and they're wise to fear the shadows of the trees. The only travellers who brave this land are taciturn dwarves and traders hurrying west from Esgroth and Dale. So most of the people you'll be meeting up here will not be farmers. They won't live here. They're literally just forced to travel through the Grey Mountain Narrows and down the East Upper Vales.
Yep.
The riverbanks and the southern vales, by contrast, are more fertile. So this area here, there are some sparse human settlements. So they're home to much more hardy people. And the land here is twisted and buckled like a thrashing snake, with many deep-sided valleys divided by narrow stone ridges. In place, tall piles or pinnacles of stones rise above the ground. So it's, imagine lots of lone trees, ravines, root-covered walls, scattered rocks, like huge boulders up here, many more steep slopes, and old stone pillars from some long-forgotten civilization. It's a very different part of the Vale than you've been to before. Okay, so you start your travel. The going is tough. Your horses aren't liking it. They're not used to this. They're used to kind of running free on grassland. There are probably not much more than 100 yards at a time. You can do more than just walk them, and you find the going is slow. Give me an exhaustion saving throw at. You had a terrible set of rolls here, guys. No, actually, it'll be when you've gone 100 miles. So sorry, don't give me a saving throw yet. You're traveling as you've gone for a couple of days, and your speed is much reduced, and you can tell why this is going to take such a long time. You end up camping on the second day in it's a hollow, but it's quite flat compared with the rest of the ravined area that you've been traveling through, which is kind of why you decided to camp here. It's a very strange feeling you get during the night while you're camping, and you get up with an itch in the back of your neck moaning to investigate, because this is something wrong. You just sense something's wrong with your campsite, and you discover that this must be in a burial site. There are mounds around you, like barrows, but about 4 or 5 of them, and they're much smaller than the barrows you've seen in the Vales. You have horrible, dark thoughts as you walk around these barrows at night. You can't sleep. You get more and more anxious, and the thoughts turn so dark. Your comrades are really concerned about you in the morning, and you've gained 2 points of shadow from the evil thoughts that you had around here. Hathus and Arahad, you have exactly the opposite inspiration of what happened around here. You find it quite uplifting to think that an ancient civilization cared sufficiently for their dead to erect these pretty large bits of construction for them, and you end up gaining 1 point of inspiration. Hathus and Arahad do. So yeah, really strange. Sigmar, you weren't affected by any of this. You kind of just happily camped, cooked some breakfast, and got up. And you did notice that the moaning he mutters to himself quite a lot anyway, but it's really dark thoughts he was sharing out loud, which is really concerning to you. Okay, unfortunately, as you travel for a few more days, Hathus and Arahad get very wearied, and they gain a point of exhaustion.
What does that do?
Oh, you don't want to know.
You don't want exhaustion. That's all you need to know. I will drag it to
You're disadvantaged on everything, Matt.
Arahad, and I will drag it to.
Need one of your caches, one of your little secret places, Matt.
So basically, yes. Any ability check you make now, you're going to get disadvantage on.
Doesn't he have some kind of ability to find little hidden sanctuaries?
Well, I think I have to be in an area I know, which we now in the Grey Mountain Narrows.
Yeah.
You are now in the Grey Mountain Narrows, yeah. So that happened roughly where you are X marks the spot territory. You'd passed, so as you left...
that's still the East Upper Vales, though, isn't it?
Yeah, it is the East Upper Vales, sorry. Is that a place you know?
It might be. I think it was, yeah, but I need to just check.
Check your character, yeah. I think you put it as a... So you know this, it's on your notes.
Oh, no, it's not, unfortunately, no.
It is, it's at the bottom of your notes tab?
Yeah, no, it's there, but unfortunately I don't know it.
Okay, got you. So you are aware through vague reading that this area as you go up, separating the vales to the kind of hills, that you can see a lot more rolling hills and actually massive mountain range beginning to loom the further you're traveling up there. This is called the Mouth of Dust, and it refers to the path that leads out of the Vales of Anduin and into the horrible narrows between Mirkwood and the Grey Mountains. So I'll share that pin with you. Yeah, so you're getting tired, you're feeling pretty grim, you're determined to get there, and your pace isn't slowing dramatically at the moment, but you are not in a good spot, really. You travel on for a few more days, cross a very shallow ford across the Forest River, and you're now into the Grey Mountain Narrows proper. It's a strip of land that separates Mirkwood from the Grey Mountains. It's very, very long, very, very similar scenery all the way along, extending maybe 60 leagues from the riverbank to the Greyland to the west to the flat Dalelands to the east. While the region is probably 20 to 30 miles wide for most of its length, it tapers to little more than 10 miles where the mountains and the forest almost meet at its opposite ends, known as the Narrows East and West Gaps. And this is the fairly bleak terrain that you're traveling through now.
Looks nice.
Looks lovely. Looks really easy to travel on horseback. The slopes of the Grey Mountains are an inhospitable waste, and you know this, Monin, from before the Battle of the Five Armies crushed the might of the goblins to the north. The area was described as simply stiff with them. I mean, it was known to just harbour hundreds and hundreds of goblins out of the Grey Mountains. They kind of made their homes in the Narrows and travelling into the woods to raid elves and stuff. That's dropped massively since the battle. It offers a safer alternative to the dreadful pathways under the trees, which is why it's travelled, but it's still not completely safe. But it still remains dangerous and cheerless. Barren and very cold in winter, its climate is made only slightly more bearable by the protection offered by the mountain range itself, as the rocky barrier shields the area from the fury of the northern winds. Near the region's western gap, just below the Forest River, the hills grow taller, rising to meet a great spur of the Grey Mountains that bends round to the southwest. At the feet of the rocky spur, a winding trail crosses the gap from the south, and it's a trading road, a long path that meanders along the stony hills and the dales of the Narrows. So you're travelling that way now. You're following that. Kept in good repair for many long years, this grey road saw traffic decline dramatically after the coming of Smaug, and the stone bridge that used to cross the Forest River collapsed during the fell winter of 2911. So today its raging waters can only be crossed safely further away from the mountains where the river enters Mirkwood. Here the stream runs both swift and deep, but its banks are lined with trees, and travellers can use ropes to get across. And as the road travels east, the landscape becomes harsher still, until you can see the kind of area you are now. It's particularly grim. The wind is brutal. There's sleet in the rain. The sun is bleak here, and you go through days where fog descends and mist descends, making it almost impossible to see more than a quarter of a mile. Freezing cold. I mean, this is the kind of sense you get here. A lot of boulders, and some of them massive. Lone trees, rocky edges, a lot of rubble, scattered rocks, and varied slopes. And your horses are finding it very, very tough going.
Grim.
It is grim all round. So you continue traveling for a few days of that kind of scenery. It's utterly horrible. And you're all getting cold, miserable, a bit fractious. The hunting's not as good, so you've gone for a few days where you've only had scraps of a leftover meal from the day before, not proper food, not being hot food. It is generally pretty grim all round. And to make matters worse, as you get to that sort of area where you are on the map, you estimate probably still a few days before you get into the northern Dalelands. Sigmar, your horse pulls up and whinnies loudly on a particularly rough, sort of gravelly, scree slope. What do you want to do?
So I'll hop off, stop, take a look at the horse, see if the horse has thrown a hoof or got a stone in its hoof. Or such horseness.
Yeah, so you can see that the horseshoe has come loose. A couple of the nails are missing, and it looks like it's loose, and it's probably causing a lot of discomfort to the horse.
Is that the kind of thing you can hammer back on, Monin?
Nails, so you couldn't do that.
Yeah.
I got a good enough fire going. I might be able to. I suppose I might melt some iron down or something and try and reshoot.
So your best bet, actually, I don't know, you don't need an insight check for this. Your best bet is probably to remove the shoe completely.
Yeah, if the shoe's causing it discomfort, then take it off. It's got hooves.
And probably do the same with its other foot so it's not unbalanced.
Yes, it's unbalanced, otherwise it won't corner very well.
So do you have your any blacksmithing equipment with you, Monin?
No, I've got nothing like a forge or anything.
No, I'm just thinking like any tools, hammers or...
Oh yeah, I've got it says here artisan
got your
tools.
anvil with you.
Okay. Yeah, you're to have sufficient probably to remove that.
Hathis will try and calm it and sort of hold it, the animal.
Yeah, so he's trying to assist. So you're trying to calm the animal. Is Monin, you're doing, I guess, some sort of artisan skill check with your tools. Mm-hmm. Anyone else trying to help Paul Sigmar's horse?
Yeah, I'll try and calm it down as well.
So if you succeed in a roll, help will give Hathis advantage on an animal handling check.
Okay.
Okay, so give me an animal handling check at advantage, Hathis, to hold the horse steady because it's going to be uncomfortable for it.
So advantage is checked. Oh, that negates the because I've got exhaustion. Yeah, they negate. So 22, John.
That's great. So you managed to keep the horse very calm. It's looking anxiously down at its front leg, and you can tell now it's kind of raising it in the air. Let's see how effective Monin's smithing type work is to remove it. That's fine. Okay, Monin, you managed to use a metal file that you had to leave the shoe off, and you don't know much about horse hooves, but Hathis reassures you that actually it's basically just cartilage and stuff, so it's like bone, so it's not going to actually hurt it. And you lever it off. It takes a bit of effort, sweating by the end of it, and you've got the shoe raised. You're kind of gripping with one hand and levering off with the other, but you do manage to remove it. You don't see a way of getting the other shoe off, so the horse is not lame anymore, but it's slightly favouring it, and you obviously need to get it reshod when you get to Dale. But that's good. You succeeded. So that gives you a bonus on the arrival roll, which I need to check with you. So congrats, you managed to get it back on the road fairly quickly.
Woohoo.
So I'll let you guys vote on. So someone can get inspiration for reshoeing the horse.
I've already got 2, so no good to me.
I'm full. Arrowhead.
I'm maxed out as well.
Sigmar,
would you like an inspiration?
No, thanks.
Have a perspiration. Okay. Sigmar's inspired by the fine dwarven handiwork.
All maxed out now, aren't we?
Yeah. Didn't feel like right using it on crows.
No, it's true.
Pigeons.
Right. You carry on. Fortunately, you make it uneventfully onto the plains of Dale, around Dale, the northern Dalelands. So this is actually been to before, and as you're getting out of the narrows, this is more cultivated. There's a lot more Northmen living up here now. The threat of Smaug is gone, and you're quite encouraged to see the amount of civilization growing up. Farmsteads that look pretty well defended. So from the withered heath in the north to the southlands, where the river Running meets the Redwater, there was once villages and towns loyal to the House of Girion. No land grew more prosperous under his rule than the northern Dalelands, the fertile land west of Dale. Long fields of rich soil gave plenty of those who tended this land, and the only shadow upon the land was that which came from the setting sun. When the dragon made his lair in the lonely mountain, however, the Dalelands became known as the desolation of Smaug. The land became bleak and barren, and the soil tainted. Only a little grass endured, and bush and tree were reduced to broken and blackened stumps. All around the mountain was silence, as though the birds and insects were afraid to wake the dragon. With the death of Smaug, however, the land has begun to heal. Birdsong fills the skies once more, and the land has burst into new life. Green grasses and fields of vibrant flowers surround the lonely mountain anew. Songbirds nest in the thickets, and game has returned to the rolling hills.
That's good.
Bardings are returning here as well, so people from the lands around the mountain are willing to go and resettle the desolation, which is really good to see. And it's hilarious as you get to about here. About a day away now, and the going's much, much better. It's only going to take you probably 2-3 days from the edge of the Narrows all the way to Dale. You encounter Gandalf again, riding up, no joke, three times. Wow. Riding up behind you very, very fast. And he doesn't even stop this time. Ah, splendid to see you fellas, nearly there. And he's
Last one is a strawberry.
Only a day to go. And then he's off. And it's like, you cannot believe how fast his horse is moving. It's astonishing. It was like a fast gallop, but 3 times as fast as that. It's very quick. And you kind of see him disappear over a hill, and you can still hear the thundering hooves as he disappears into a valley beyond.
Bloody boy racers.
Not only one day later, you arrive in Dale. Congratulations on surviving it. Your overarching journey for this part was not, should we say, not ideal. You arrived feeling pretty low. So give me a second exhaustion check, everyone, which is, this time your modifier is -1 and the DC is 18.
Cool.
Holy crap. And those of us that are exhausted, we're at disadvantage, are we?
Whoa, Moni made it. So those of you who are exhausted, this time your movement will suffer as well.
Are we at disadvantage because of the initial...
Oh, yeah, that would still apply. Yeah.
-1, and this is a con save. Oh, no chance.
You need 2 massive rolls.
Did you say at disadvantage as well?
Only your skill checks are at disadvantage. Your save.
Okay, yeah.
So unfortunately, you gain another level of exhaustion. Oh,
Hey.
You're okay.
Oh.
But not for Sigmar. Sigmar nailed it. So the only person gains exhaustion, unfortunately, is Hathus.
My aching bones are too old for this.
But you do arrive in Dale. So
Dale Schmail.
Don't worry, Hathus. I'm even in the car. Sort you right out.
If you remember, I'm not sure if you remember Dale. If you remember the map of Dale, because you've been here before, and you know it really well. I think you came from Dale. Is that right, Neil? Sigmar came from Dale.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So I'll share this map with you, so you can see, because you'll know the whole district. I put a pin there on the right-hand side, Neil, which is where your father's house is.
Okay.
So you've got options to stay there. If you recall, you were arranging to meet in... I'm not sure it's even on here.
Maps. There was a letter from the dwarf.
Drunkenstone, that was it. So you'd arranged to meet your brother, Monin, in the Drunkenstone, and also you said if the despondent traveller from the East Bight who was coming up to try and drum up some help from this festival after not getting any from the folk moot, if he was around, he would meet you at the Drunkenstone as well.
Sounds like a good place to go for.
You know where that is. It's down in this area. Down here is where the Drunkenstone is, that pin there, and I'll just share that with you.
Does Dale feel like it's changed much in the, whatever it is, year or two since we were last here? Has it grown and is more bustling and more cosmopolitan kind of thing?
More people. Much more repairs have been done. And it's almost looking... I mean, you've known Dale really well, Sigmar. I wouldn't say quite back to its former glory, but it's 80% back to its former glory. You know this inn, historically, Sigmar was one of the first inns built in Dale. It was originally called the New Inn. It's not called the New Inn anymore. It's called the Drunkenstone. And as you go in, you can remember the story of the man who bought it. There's a fellow called Skelleld, and he changed its name. So the sign hanging outside depicts the fabled Arkenstone above a mug of beer. And you know your brother chose this place because it's favoured by dwarves who travelled to Dale because of their links to the dwarves, and Skelled himself is a friend of the dwarves. And you're likely to find many dwarves in here wetting their beards with ale. It's pretty good as a tavern.
Excellent.
Okay, so you head on in and you come across none other but
Gandalf.
a one-eyed dwarf who you immediately recognise as your brother. It looks like he's been drinking solidly for a couple of hours already. It's early evening now. And he recognised you immediately, gets up with a big gruff hail, "Hello, brother!" from the far side of the bar, and he said, "Get your ass out of here to our ales!"
Started without me.
Oh, God.
What do the rest of you do as you go in?
Monan's going to introduce his friends before he say anything. This here's Sigmar. Sigmar, well, I'm not going to use his surname. Man of many talents. Hath us here, don't let the age fool you. Man is a lethal with that stick of his, that big stick. And here's Arahad. This Arahad will lead you around all the trails and everywhere. These are good people to me, good friends of mine.
Nice to meet you, lads. Pull up some chairs. Friend of my brother's, a friend of mine. It looks like he basically gruffly says, "You lads can piss off now, as my brother here," to the dwarves he was sitting with. And you all kind of, they grumble a bit. There's plenty of tables in here. They're getting to another one. So Skeletal takes your details and inquires about rooms. And he said, if we have rooms, a bit more expensive than normal, lads, and you'll have to share, but there's not a lot in town at the moment. Do you want one?
Yes, please.
Aye. How much is your best one?
That'll be the best one. Well, that'll be 2 silver. 2 silver for the room per night.
Aye, have that one.
All right. He thanks you.
Kicks his wife out of the master bedroom.
You're in the stable, love. He is a young woman and probably in her early 20s, and a slightly older guy come over, grab saddlebags and other accoutrements you've got, and bustle upstairs with them, carrying him to the room. Come back downstairs, and you're surprised actually, Sigmar. You know Dale pretty well, but the quality of the key on the door is pretty good that they give you. So they said, yeah, door's locked here. I'll lock it when you go out. And who should I give it to? I guess Monin you've paid, and you look wealthy, so they give you the key, Monin.
Cool.
So we all in one room then?
Yeah, they don't have enough space for separate rooms.
No problem. Last time we were here, we were all skipping on Sigmar's parents' floor, I think.
Moved up in the world.
Tenement block. Yeah, you're on the floor. You come up in the world.
So Monin will try and sit down with his
brother.
He'll sit down with his brother, and he'll say, "Here, look, come here," and he'll conspirately bring him forward, and he'll show him the gold pieces from Khazad-dûm. Look, I need to exchange these for normal gold. The old man over there. Oh, I want a gold piece because he gave me one because I didn't want to really have these gold pieces going into other people's hands. So if he can, rustle me up some normal gold coins so I can swap these for them.
Where did you get those from?
I'll tell you all about it. That place, you know that letter I sent you? That place, that's above a whole old dwarven mine. Good ang ore in there, and some silver.
You're tweaking my beard.
No. Hey, give me another hour there, I'll tell you more. Give me some more ale.
Yeah, so Monin didn't learn his lesson with the cider, and by about 10 p.m, Monin's got his horn out. His brother's actually got quite a good singing voice, and you used to play together quite a lot as young men around the fire and drinking beers, and you're back to those old days. You're actually, the dwarves in here, you're playing a lot of dwarven songs in Kuzdal, which people who don't speak it don't know it, but it's a very, very relentless smashing of mugs on the table type of beat, which the dwarves are doing, and stamping having an absolute blast. You've told him the tale of the mine. He's very excited to meet, potentially to offer some help from the clan, and he's going to resolve to go and talk to the old man, and then go down and meet up with Heartfast. I'm really excited about that, and he asks you as many details as possible. But as the beer goes down and the tales gradually dry up, the singing starts, and after 2 hours solid of this, even Hathas's normally happy demeanour is getting a bit.
I've got 2 levels of exhaustion. He's just face down in his pint, blowing bubbles.
Hathas goes to bed fairly early to lie down. So, Sigmar, did you want to see your dad while you're here, or are you okay to spend the night in the tavern?
It's a fairly cold relationship. So if he has reason to go and visit him, he will. Otherwise, no, he's quite happy to spend time in the tavern.
No real reason necessarily. So, okay, you end up going to bed, lock the door, no problems at night, and you wake feeling some of the aches and pains disappeared. from your time on the road. What do I do about your exhaustion? I'm going to say because it's such a nice tavern, this gives you the benefit of long rest. So.
We'll give Hathis the best bet as well.
Oh, yeah, Hathis bags you that. Hathis was in it, but it sprawled around on it when you lot came upstairs.
You're feeling slightly better, which is obviously a good thing.
Did he manage to swap the gold? I suppose not. Nobody would be carrying that much gold.
No, not. Yeah, it's going to take him a little bit of time to do that. So how many gold is it that you're looking to swap?
8 coins.
8. Okay. Yeah, it's gonna. So there are money lenders in Dale, or Sigmar knows that. Fairly underhand, typically. Your best bet may be to try and find a wealthy merchant to not get fleeced. So.
Well, I'm hoping he goes to the dad and says, "Look, I've got these heirloom coins."
Your father, you mean, or
Sigmar's? Yeah, because basically the whole point is to try and keep him within the dwarven sort of clans, so they don't go down anywhere else. Yeah, so
your father, so your brother and his entourage. Your father wasn't staying in the Drunkenstone; he was staying in an even nicer place in town, up in Ravensgate, which is kind of to the north. You meet him the next day. Hadn't really changed from your memory. Still gruff old bastard. Very much the family patriarch. Monin grunts a bit non-committally when he shows you coins, but you can tell he's really intrigued, despite not really giving the game away, and he's happy to swap out the coins. He said, "Leave them with me, son. I'll look into this." And you say, Hartfast, the fella to speak with in Mountain Hall. Is that right?
But just remember, once upon a time it was dwarvish, so you might be able to hold that over him. He's nice enough. He's good enough. Just so you know that.
Yeah, don't you worry. I'll teaching your grandfather to suck eggs here. I've negotiated more mine contracts than you've had years of life, son. So I'll be all right there.
I'm glad to be back.
Yeah. Oh, thanks, Dad. Yeah, lovely to see you as well. Yeah, you spend a bit of time with him. He kind of updates you on the clan. They're doing pretty well. Erebor is absolutely thriving. New mines being opened there all the time, and he's saying, to be honest, there's such wealth we're gathering up there. I'm not sure it's going to be years until we get down to Mountain Hall. What was in the mines there? From what you're reading, it was like there might be some silver in there. Is that right?
And just mainly iron with a bit of silver, a bit of whatever that stuff with tin-like stuff.
Yeah. Okay.
Was it copper?
Yeah, maybe we're sending a small contingent down there, mainly to show a bit of willing to help our human men friends out. Yeah, leave it with me.
Or send some young ones, because there's some goblins down there. Get them to wet their teeth up there. Sorry, down there.
Goblins? Yeah, that might be helpful. How many men does Hathis have? Like warriors himself?
Hathis hasn't got any.
Oh, Hathis.
The other old bastard.
It's about,
how many warriors does Hardfast have?
20, is it?
Yeah, it's about that number. It's pretty small.
About a score at the most.
Yeah, he may value that. That may be helpful to him.
And I'll tell you, that's one of the worst fortresses I've ever seen. Every time you stay there, there's some kind of nighttime visitor.
So you convey all the information you've got. It looks like he's already drawing up plans there for nefarious activities. So this is what the Drunkenstone looks like. You're all inside. Oh, I think I put line of sight on that map as well. So it's a cool old inn. If you move yourselves outside of it, well, I don't think you can do that.
That's got horse brasses on the wall and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's very nice. And that's where you met Thronin. So you're here for a couple of days before the festival gets started. You begrudgingly do end up going to talk to your dad, and he's the same mean-spirited bastard that you remembered as from your younger days. Grim tradesman, just lives to do his work, have a meager dinner, go to bed, repeat 6 days a week, go for some walks. That's about all he does. But he's gruffly says, "Well, lad, hang on a minute, where is it?" And he hunts around in the back of a meager cupboard. Oh, here it is. And there's a browning, yellowing letter with a green wax seal on the back. Just says Sigmar. And he said, "That's That's your son. That came for you in, 47, I think, like last year.
Came from where?
I don't know. You didn't open it. It's yours.
Who delivered it?
One of your pals from when you used to live here, I think. I can't remember the fella's name. I did recognise him, though. Got a beard now.
I'll hold it at arm's length and open it very carefully with the tip of a dagger.
Kaboom.
Friends, yeah. Let me see if I can share this just with you. I don't think I can. Yeah, I think I'll have to share. Are you okay with me sharing this with everyone, Neil?
Yeah.
So this is the note.
The note reads, 2947. Sigmar, I hope your extended absence from Dale has not been in vain. Still hunting the gold that seemed so elusive when we were lads? Well, I'm still hunting, but we're now hunting for dragons, not minnows. If you once were on a share with some of the old crew, look me up in the shipyard docks in Esgaroth. I go by the name of the Eel these days. Your friend, Malika.
So Malika was, you remembered him when you were like probably from about the age of 13, 14. You were never wealthy. You grew up on the streets of Dale. Always had the threat of the dragon. So it was like, imagine like living in a war-torn city. That's kind of how your upbringing was. So there was always scams and schemes going on with the kids to basically get things like food and shoes and stuff like that. Malika, you remember being probably even as proficient a rogue as you are, thieving bastard. He tended to be the leader of your gang of kids. He was a couple of years older than you. You looked up to him quite a lot as like 13, 14-year-old. He seemed like an adult really to you then, but he was never that friendly. He demanded a tithe from all of the people that were in his gang, all that kind of stuff for protection. He was like almost like a racketeer, even as a kid. And the letter seems overly friendly.
So if he's likely to be hunting gold, it's not likely to be clever business plan to make money. It's likely to be him lifting gold off somebody else.
Possibly. It's a do with that any information you want. Esgaroth is obviously a day or so away, and you remember Malika as being a genuine rogue. Looks like he's moved on to bigger things.
Yeah, I'm just thinking I probably want to take him down rather than join him. Yeah.
Yeah, he may have become one of the people you hate.
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, you can
like he's the wrong one, and he's got some scam going on. So yeah,
got a score, Neil. You can take down scores.
Yeah, that's the word.
So how long is it till the party now, John?
It's pretty soon, and you do notice actually around town. Ooh, I can do bustly sounds. Sorry, I'm terribly remiss of me.
I was just wondering if we've got time to do something else beforehand or not.
Oh no, it's very.
Athos's prime motivator is to shake off his levels of exhaustion, so his brain's actually functioning for having travelled all this way for the party, the meetings, the schmoozing, the socialising. The last thing you want is to be a grumpy old sod at half movement rate, shuffling around, looking confused and angry, get thrown out by the guard.
Your exhaustion. You've definitely lost one level, so hang on.
Cool. He's sped up. He's sped up to normal Hatha speed now. Fast shuffle.
Remove that. And remove yours. Arrowhead. So your father's name is Sandar, by the way, Neil.
Yeah.
And you don't know much about Lake Town. You've been there as a kid once or twice only. Other than it's basically a town pretty much on stilts out in the lake, and you're not sure how damaged that was from the dragon's attacks either. So, but you're sure with enough context and enough time in Esgaroth, you'll be able to find the eel again. It's very bustling. The streets of Dale are packed and thronged with a lot of people bartering, all sorts of things like that. It's extremely busy. There's lots and lots of stuff going on. Traders have come from a long, long way around to the Great Market. It's the biggest in the north for many, many years. And it looks like there's quite a bit of coin being changing hands. I mean, Sigmar, you've never seen the town this wealthy. You can see all sorts of stuff. So treasures and wonders from all parts of Rovanian. So clothing and jewelry from Laketown, leather and woofcraft from as far away as Mirkwood, even wine from Dwynwen, smithcraft from dwarves in the Iron Hills, all people competing with each other to buy and sell stuff. You can see many of the stalls offer toys, games, or curiosities. So there are candied apples and figs, meat on sticks, ale wine, dwarf spirits, mead from the elves, and all manner of delights to be had here. And the smells in the street are amazing. I mean, it's really makes you realize just how poorly you've eaten over the last 20 days or so. Carvings and banners celebrating the victory of the Battle of the Five Armies. And some stalls offer strange things too. Books of lore, ancient scrolls, magic talismans, charms and love potions, enchanted filters, rings that ward off evil, scales and claws from Smaug. To be honest, you look at them, they look more like bear or bear claws to you. But also, you see two fellas are arguing and eventually start brawling, both accusing the other of selling a fake black arrow.
Oh, that's the one that killed Smaug.
So you can see them pointing and swearing to each other. One interesting thing is, so some of the stalls are selling painted wooden or leather masks, and they're doing a lot of business. And so Sigmar, this is very new to you. You never were aware that any festivals in Dale people were masked. And it looks, from what you understand, this is a fashion imported from Dwynwen. And you believe that almost everyone will wear them one tonight after the ceremonial opening of the festivities.
How much are these masks? We could discreetly have a look and just see if they're like stupidly cheap. We may as well pick one up even if we don't use it.
Yeah, they vary in price depending on the quality, but you can get masks from a copper piece up to a couple of silver with a lot of kind of fine metalwork built in. So it's up to you. I mean, if you want to get yourselves a mask, you can easily do that. Just kind of cross off the amount.
Yeah, I think Hathis will get himself one for a copper just so that if we need to blend in, he'll just have a cheap one, but at least he's showing willing. Yeah.
Okay, sounds good.
Yeah, I'll do the same.
So the market is in the obvious place on the map of Dale. If you still got it open, the Market Square number 9. So in many ways, this is the heart of the city. Market Square sits on the northern edge of the Merchants' Quarter, nearly at the exact centre of Dale. And when people, even from as far afield as you were, Hathis, you'd heard of the Great Market of Dale, and this is what they must mean.
Mm-hmm.
Paved with stones of every colour from the other streets of Dale, set in patterns to identify the rightful position of every seller in town. The Market Square would be a vast open area, if not for the massive profusion of stalls, peddlers' carts, brightly coloured tents and wagons that regularly cover it. With new traders coming and going daily, the goods available at the market change constantly. Merchants, travellers and locals come here in the hope of finding a fair trade, gaining a few coins, and sometimes to see something they never even imagined existed in the world. So it is pretty much anything is available to buy and trade here. It may not be at great prices for everything, but pretty much you'll be able to get access to anything here.
Cool.
It's good to know. In the streets around the market, you do remember this, and you used to participate in this, Sigmar, when you were younger, but there are games and diversions, games of chance, essentially, a lot of anything from like urchins who are playing like games of dice sitting on cobbles to much more formal setups in tables under canvas and stuff are all there. So some of the most popular games there are riddle games. There are song contests, and there are games of just pure games of chance as well. If anyone wants to try their hand at any of those, let me know.
Hathis will watch one of these riddle games to just get a sense of what is it, just one-upmanship, or is money changing hand? Is it kudos? Is it a competition? That kind of stuff. He's kind of intrigued, but
yeah. So it looks like there are riddling contests where it's like a best of 3, where a pair of competitors will speak a riddle, the other will guess it, and then they would switch around. So that seems to be the way the rules work. If you're interested, you could have a crack at that if you want.
I think Hathis currently think he's got bigger fish to fry than riddle games. So.
Okay.
I hear the White Council is electing a new member.
Yeah.
Something of far more interest to Monin might be the song contest. So there are so there is basically what looks like almost like an open tavern under canvas. There's barrels of beer, being served. There is a little stage at the corner built up on some pallets, and on the stage is a ratty old looking guitarist who looks like a complete drunkard, but he roughly hold a tune. And he's playing for people out of the audience to sing. So happy for that if you want to do that. And there are other games like pure luck, like betting on which rat will make it out of a maze first and all that kind of stuff. And it's money changing hands almost faster. You can see the only person who can really follow it is Sigmar. And you can see, Sigmar, that there are definitely gangs at work around here, especially kids helping adults. You've seen like scams like this in the past.
I'm going to try and act the innocent and scam the scammers.
And
Okay,
Mona would like to leave most of his gold back at the inn with the reputable owner.
Very wise. Okay, so game of chance. You there, sir. You look like it's your lucky day today. Come and bet on the which rat will make it out of the maze first. Or how about, and then there's another bigger, burlier guy. Ignore the bloody rats. Come and have a game of dwarven stones. It looks a bit like dominoes, but the dominoes have got runes on and not numbers. And
any of them look like they're scamming people?
To be honest, they all look like they're scamming people.
Other than the normal sort of fairground type scamming people, you know.
Yeah, I mean, so many of the you would probably say that the biggest scam looks like it's actually. Give me skills. See if you spot one.
Detect scam.
Traditions skill. Yeah, make it in the town. Yeah, you see an elderly dwarf who looks like he's running a card table, and you're convinced that he is dealing off the bottom of the deck occasionally. So it's like a game of like 3-card brag. It's a fairly quick gambling game, and he seems to. It's pretty subtle. You think he's pretty good at it from your understanding. You don't see him do it a lot, but you're convinced you saw him do it a couple of times. And they've won 2 pretty modest sized hands compared with some of the smaller change that were being gambled normally.
If I can figure a way of essentially out cheating him and ruining him, then that's what I want to try and do.
Yeah, I mean, you will need a sleight of hand against his perception.
Well, that's the one thing I'm really, really bloody good at. That and deception.
That you're fucking amazing at that, or deception. You're really good at that as well. So your choice really. If you want to,
well, sleight of hand, I'm slightly better at. So yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So what you'll do, and you're very astute at this. You're kind of used to doing this kind of scam yourself when you were a kid. You obviously haven't done it for years, but you feign a bit of lack of knowledge about the game. You play a few rounds to kind of get the feel for it. You don't sense him cheating. You're not betting a lot. You're betting coppers, but you haven't kind of sensed him cheat. But you gain his trust enough that he'll kind of let you shuffle cards and stuff. So that would be the time you could try a sleight of hand to pocket a card or something along those lines if you want.
Yeah. Well, essentially, what I'm. Yeah.
All right. So give me a sleight of hand check. You can make it in the open, and I'll mainly because you want a right old laugh, and I'll make a perception check for him. So, okay. So he doesn't say anything to you about the card you've taken.
Okay.
This stage you're pretty much even. You've been playing for 10-15 minutes. Not really up, not really down. Do you want to put a larger bet on to see if you can like?
Yeah. I think I'm on the verge of winning. I can feel it. I'm gonna.
Let's make this more interesting.
No, I'm going to be completely like a
Stupid.
guy.
My luck's just about to change.
Yeah.
Something
It's
big
going to really make it for me.
Oh, what's the bet then, good sir? It looks like your luck's in. The dwarf says to you.
What is a reasonably large bet? Is a silver a lot?
So silver is about. So 2 silver is probably about 1 to 2 silver is about a week's worth of wages.
Yeah, I'll go for silver then.
Okay.
Yeah, that's high enough.
Ooh. Well, good luck then, sir. And he matches it. Give me because what you're gonna have to do is like, as you pick up your cards, put one in the pack, take one out of only 3 cards. There's another sleight of hand against the perception check. Good luck.
They'll get stabbed.
So what am I making?
Another sleight of hand.
That'll do it.
Oh,
You absolutely thrash him, and he give me an insight check as well.
Looks a bit baffled.
As you're looking at his face to see if you can see a reaction from him. So you look at him, and he looks a bit annoyed, but he doesn't look like incredulous. He just looks a bit angry that he lost the silver piece.
gold on next time, Neil.
I think that might give the game away somewhat.
Yeah.
You found your new vocation, just scamming scammers now. So
I've got this Silmaril. Can I bet that?
Yeah. So add a silver piece to your tracker.
That's not bad for 10 minutes work.
Half week's wages, yeah.
What I'm trying to do, John, is essentially take him out of the game so he doesn't harm any of the good people of Dale, or minimise his harm to the good people of Dale. But
So I'll make one more sleight of hand for the rest of the game, and I'll make one more.
Are you trying to bankrupt him, Neil, or just deny the service, or keep him just? You mean you could just tie him up in fluff and winning, losing for the whole day? He makes nothing from it. So you've.
I think if he's not winning, then he's not going to spend a lot of time with me. But
okay, so just make one more sleight of hand check for the rest of the time, and I'll kind of make a decision on what he does based on the results. Okay, so you spend the next
you start eating his packed lunch in front of him.
hour with him. You're even more subtle. I mean, you're getting a sense the longer you're playing that actually this guy might not be scamming you. He's not ever been. He's getting increasingly frustrated that you're winning quite a lot, because the rules of the game. Normally, it's about, 55% chance that he'll win, 45% chance you're winning, and you're winning about. You're not being too stupid. You're winning about 65%, maybe. And he kind of looks at you a bit strangely, but doesn't say anything. You're way too subtle for that. But you get a sense, having played with him for an hour, that he actually seems like quite an honest bloke. And you're now
bastard, Neil. You're ripping off the good guys.
Just scamming the honest people.
You made 6 silver.
You're ripping off Paul Daniels.
Well, the guy.
He's not going to like that.
If you want to play, then you've got to take the risks. Is this a further 6 silver?
You are actually scamming him now, though. It's not the other way around. So
I'll turn to the dark side.
Once I realise that, I'll stop. But I've beaten him
and everything.
So, Neil, this was what you rolled on your traditions check to find a scammer. And you get +5 to the roll.
Oh, crap.
So you've taken down the only good cardman in the whole place.
Buttocks.
You swine.
So you do realise that, but it took you about an hour of play that this guy...
You've just ruined straight.
He doesn't look like a guy that knows your kind of sleight of hand tricks. And he doesn't look like a guy that is dealing you bad cards. You just misread it when you first met him.
Oh, and he's 11 blind orphan children don't go hungry tonight.
That's the thing. Is there a look of grief and horror on his face, or is it just disappointment?
That is just sad, rueful.
So that's when he calls it quits. He says, okay. Well, your luck's too good today, sir.
I'll have to go back to the wife and tell her that Christmas is cancelled.
Have to go and sell my youngest one's kidneys.
You have to sell you for medical experiment.
Is it? Well, it's feast day, friend. So I've done well out of you. So here's one of your silvers back.
He says, "Much obliged, sir, and good luck with the rest of the tournament. I appreciate you. If your luck's as good elsewhere, you probably stay away from my table. But I wish you all the best."
Farewell.
And he backs up, and you see him like he looks pretty old. He's like dodgy hips. He's like walking with a slight limp as he walks up a side street with his head down.
Now that I'm essentially a man of good standing who does work for King Bard, if I can expose scammers or essentially stop people like I used to be from ruining the day for the people, then I'll do so.
You balls that one up worthy, though, didn't you?
If I come out came out a bit better off than, that's no bad.
That's good as well.
Yeah.
It's quite okay. Your next option, so you all bought masks. You discover after basically you're almost overwhelmed by the market and the areas around it. So at twilight, a crowd gathers around the fountain in the square commemorating the fall of Smaug in front of the royal palace. So the royal palace is
Number 14.
Number 14, that place there, and that dot in there is the fountain. A procession of nobles and courtiers emerges from the great front gate and is welcomed by cheers and shouts from all bystanders. The group is led by Dane, King Under the Mountain, and a trio of elven emissaries clad in green and gold. They are followed by the Master of Lake Town, and last, King Bard makes his appearance, followed by his most trusted councillors. And you recognise Odvar. He's still the old gruff old fella that you met, looking even more white-haired, walking with a bit of a limp. And so most of his councillors, you can tell, are probably all were archers from the garrison here, who formerly served in his company when he was just a captain in Esgaroth. And Odvar would fall into that category. King Bard steps forward to address the crowd. His dwarf-wrought crown glitters in the light of many lanterns. His frame is as lean and hard as it was when he brought down the dragon, but this night his grey eyes are alight with joy. People of Wilderland, he shouts, years ago we were strangers to each other. As we hid in shadows, we were afraid of a world where dragons ruled and orcs were free to plunder. Then one day our worst fears came upon us and threatened to bury us forever, together with our weaknesses and worries. The crowd goes silent as an old man wrapped in a cloak and hood emerges from among the king's councillors and takes place by Bard's side. Bard continues his speech. But then the clouds that darkened our days were torn by the wind, and a red sunset slashed the west. We fought together at the Battle of the Five Armies, and you can hear moaning a number of veterans in the crowd cheering at that. And we prevailed together. And today we are here to testify that since that day we stand united, and at that the crowd erupts. The old man casts aside his hood, and guess who it is?
It's Gandalf.
And cloak, and he raises a tall staff. Gandalf the Grey has come to Dale. Suddenly the staff of the wizard blazes forth with a flash, and behind the royal palace, the sky over Dale erupts with the most amazing firework display you've ever seen, bright enough to illuminate the flanks of the mountains. Flowers and trees and candelabras and shooting stars, and then a flock of great golden eagles that burst like the dawn. He speaks and he says, many years ago, I myself dared to pass the doors of the necromancer in Dol Guldur for the second time to secretly explore his ways. What I discovered in that occasion is not a matter that I will discuss here, but suffices to say that I found the place to be even darker and oppressive than before. I will say no more, but I am seeking the leaders of your lands to counsel with me in King Bard's providing hospitality over the next few days. But that is dark tales and dark discussions for the council members at a later time. Right now, I would leave it to you to enjoy the celebrations and hand back over to Bard. You get a sense, and the crowd breaks from that. Bard is welcoming people formally to the masked ball this evening, where the people start to mingle. Bard is too busy to see you, but Odvar comes up and he explains that there is a council taking place. Gandalf is basically having a lot of meetings privately. He won't be able to take part in the celebrations himself. And he's basically the only way you'll really be able to speak with him is via Bard. So Bard and Gandalf go back inside the palace after the closing of the ceremonies. And people, looks like they're traveling probably for an hour or so. The masked ball will start. So if you wanted to go and meet with Gandalf and Bard, you'd probably need to do it in the next hour. So I'll leave it up to you. Your option is to go and try and meet in some of the council members in some of the private meetings. You heard from Odvar that Gandalf's like to be leaving tonight. He's not going to stay for any of the celebrations. And then if you want, you can just go to the masked ball and explore what's going on there, meeting some people, and then enjoying the rest of the festivities. So
might as well go and have a chat, see what they're about.
Yeah, I think we should do. I mean, there's no reason not to, is there?
Why wouldn't you want to see his road buddies?
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
By the time we bumped into him. If we do, what's priority?
I think we should find out what his concerns and plans are, and see if we can
Any way we
play a
can help.
part in them. Yeah.
Find out if presumably Radagast told him about the chain and dragons and such like. And
Actually, I'll speed this up a little bit, guys, so I can give you some information. Gandalf comes out himself, strangely, and he said, "Yeah, it wasn't chance that I met you fellas on the road a lot of times. I wanted to make sure you got here. I've got some information, really important information to tell you. Come with me." And he like completely
could
expected.
have stopped for this at any point. Could have just said, "Hi, I'm glad I bumped into you before we get there." A pre-meeting meeting.
No, he hadn't met with Radagast then, so
Okay.
he carries on what he was communicating. It looks like he's been meeting a lot of people here, but he discovers that Dol Guldur is even darker and oppressive than it had been before. And it seems to me that a new power had allied itself with the necromancer and ruled the deeper pits of Dol Guldur. And he said, it was there that I found Thrain, the father of Thorin Oakenshield, wandering witless and near death in the blackest dungeons. I came too late and he died before I could help him, but his last words he uttered, the name of his jailer and tormentor, the Gibbet King. I fled that accursed place before the necromancer could spy my presence, but I knew that my visit didn't go unnoticed. I felt the eyes of that dreadful lord of prisons upon me. The Gibbet King saw me, but seemed content to let me go for some reason. He seems worried. I mean, you've never seen him look concerned before, but he said, I am now concerned that when you were in the marshes, and the story that Radagast said about the chain there is not unlinked to this old jailer from Dol Guldur. I'm now worried about the true nature of that spirit that you last saw on the Dwimmerhorn. I'm too busy to do much now, but just tell me what you know about the spirit. He tells you a little more than you've got there. It's very powerful. It scared Gandalf. It was not something that he wanted to mess around with, but he did know its name, or what Thrain called it, and the tale itself is of probably concern to you. And that bit of a cliffhanger note, discovering a new evil that Gandalf is tied together to your activities at the Dwimmerhorn.
Is he saying that the creature we encountered at the Dwimmerhorn was the Gibbet King?
He said it could, but from what the way Radagast described it to him in the questions he asked you just now,
he
said that it sounds like very much the spirit that I encountered in Dol Guldur.
And does he know that Iramay battled it, etc.? Does he know the story of Iramay's battle with it?
He didn't know, so he thanks you for that and says, Iramay, haven't seen her for, and then he shakes head, for a long time. She travelled west, or was planning to, is my understanding.
We were escorting her and she was assailed by this creature and fought him all night. And we were transported, I think, to the prisons of Dol Guldur in the spirit, in sort of dream world. And then when we prevailed there and rejected the offers there, we could come back and aid Iramay in whatever small way we could. And she prevailed with her strength and spirit, but she looked shaken afterwards.
I did not know that. I will seek Iramay as well. She may have more insight into this foul creature. Well, I unfortunately have much to do, many more people to speak with. Enjoy the festival. I think dark times were ahead, unfortunately. So, yeah, and please no communicating of any of this to the good folk of Dale. We don't want to worry them unduly.
Our lips are sealed.
And with that, he whisks into another meeting and you're kind of escorted out.
And that's where we'll leave this episode and this season. Said mostly what I wanted to say at the beginning of this. But just to reiterate, thanks very much for sticking with us and watching and listening, following and subscribing. Not the end of this channel. There will be other podcasts, but they'll be in a much more focused manner. As always, happy gaming. Cheers.